law of the gift. In understanding what we have received, we should be moved by our thanksgiving to do that which we have experienced ourselves. And it is what I call a disinterested concern. That is, the desire to do good, not because it is to your advantage, not because you will possess it, but because simply it is good. And Thomas Aquinas tells us that the heart of that love is to be able to say to another, and to any other human person, it is good that you are. Not that you are this or that, but simply it is good that you exist. And because of that goodness, I have certain obligations and responsibilities toward you. And it is in this grasping of caritas. You know, the early Christians in the Roman Empire struggled to find a word that would really express the nature of the love of God to which we are called by Jesus Christ. Because so many of the words that were used in, say, the Latin language represented erotic love, or love, say, of a particular food, or a love of possession. And so they created a word, caritas, a word from which we derive our word charity. And in grasping the nature of that caritas, of that love, we enter the fourth act of service, which is active engagement. The doing of the good that we see in the other. This is a fundamental responsibility of all Christians. But it has to have that context of faith, of worship, of obedience, of love. For if it doesn't, then our active works of charity can become very condescending. Pope Benedict XVI pointed this out in his first encyclical, which I would encourage you all to read, God is Love. He said that a Christian, when doing the charity of Christ, must do it in a personal way. For the gift that we give another in need cannot be simply a gift of material well-being. It must be a gift of ourselves, so that it does not become an act of power or superiority or a kind of casual goodwill. It is a gift of oneself. Now, I mention all of this in a very general way because at the heart of the maintenance of Catholic education in the Catholic school has to be this reality. The Catholic Church has been involved in education from the very beginning. In catechetical schools found in the early Greek Christian communities of Alexandria and Antioch, to the cathedral schools that were formed in the early Middle Ages, the Benedictine schools that were part of monastic life, the great universities. And we often forget that the Catholic Church founded the university. To our present day, in the United States, in this extraordinary system of parochial education. And this support of Catholic education is not simply an alternative to other forms of education. Catholic education is absolutely unique. I want to tell you very honestly that no matter how many bells and whistles a a school may provide. It cannot provide a Catholic education in its absolute uniqueness. For at the heart of this uniqueness is a sense that the school is there to assist the parents in forming the whole human person of their child. His intellectual formation, his moral formation, his spiritual formation. And at the heart of this, of our faith, of our service, and I could talk for days about the details of what a Catholic education involves, but I think at the very heart of it is the understanding that a child that graduates from a Catholic school will know what it means to be a human person made in the image and likeness of God, with a purpose here on earth and a destiny in heaven. It involves all of the aspects, the intellectual, the academic, and so forth. This is the heart of it. I often tell students that if you don't understand more deeply who you are as a human person made in the image of God, after years of education, then something has happened. Either you were not there, or it simply was not taught you. But this is the heart. In trying to explain this, I often used little analogies, little questions. And the one that always got people to chattering was, what is your deepest desire? This, normally to students or sometimes to parents. That you get into Harvard or into heaven. One of the responses I got was, isn't that the same thing? Or do we have to make a choice? Or can I think of that later? But I think it's an interesting way to think, what is the purpose of our education? Graduates from Catholic schools do extraordinarily well. But I like to think that they are good students because they are called to be good people. It always has to be that dimension. So let me stop there and see if you have any questions that you would like to ask me. Thank you. There's one. Good.
Before you became our bishop, there was a movement or land reserve for Catholic high school in the Northwest Quadrant. What's the status of that?
Well, the status is hiatus for a number of reasons. One is the fact that our high school population is simply not growing in the diocese. Secondly, it's financial considerations as well. Oh, there you are. I'm sorry.
I work with trying to get inner city kids that are going to public schools and academic failure into Catholic education. One of the things that she said that struck me was the Catholic education helping the parent to make the child a whole person of God. But maybe you could speak on when that element of the parent is missing, maybe, or they are not maybe as participatory in their child's education, and how the Catholic school system, might in fact benefit the children when they don't have that element at home.
And I talk with the teachers and the administrators of our inner city schools, which are now filled with many of these students. And they talk about the necessity of engaging the parents You know, the students, while they're in that atmosphere, in the actual school building, do fairly well. But who's going to make certain that they're doing the homework? That their studies are in fact honored and valued within the home? And that's why in many of these instances, the insistence must be on the active participation of the parents, for the child to be there. I will tell you that in several of our schools in the diocese where we have ed choice students, they're doing extraordinarily well. But they're coming ahead, but not as fast as we'd like because of that support system. This is why I think that in the work of the church, and its teaching also as charitable, there are two things that I consider fundamental to our mission. One is education, but the other is marriage and family life. We cannot create an equivalent to a parent. We can create situations where we try to make up a deficit, but really there is no replacement for a loving parent interested in the education of the child. But we're working on that. There's a funny story that one of the principals of our inner city schools told us. An ed choice student came in the 7th grade, and that's a little late. And she just could not adjust. And the principal had to call in her mother in order to tell her that this isn't working out. And the mother said to the principal, "Oh, I understand exactly what you're saying. But I've got to tell you, this is the best school my daughter's ever been thrown out of." Now, I told the principal, take that as a compliment for the work that you're doing. But you're right. And a lot of this work has to be done by the church before and around the school. I have a very deep interest in how young people are prepared for marriage. And John Paul II tells us that probably one of the crucial periods in which to form minds around an authentic reality of marriage and its critical importance to our society is in high school. And that is where we need to talk about it more intensely. And boy, that's a struggle. But when marriage and family life fall apart, the ripples go throughout all of our institutions. And we see it in the schools. Yes?
Is there any thought to using advanced technology to reach out in the field of education to the inner city or out to the rural areas, extending the footprint of the Catholic education system through technology?
Well, let me understand precisely what you are saying. What is the
virtual education and other forms of possible hybrid brick and mortar and virtual to raise the number of individuals taught per teacher without increasing the load on the teacher and things of that nature?
I'm going to be absolutely honest with you. Now, I'm not a Luddite. I know that technology has improved our lives enormously, but it has also brought some real difficulties to us. And let me say simply, there is no substitute for the relationship of the teacher and the pupil. And it just can't be replaced. You know, we have talked about how large a classroom should be, how many students within it, what are the technological things that should be available and whatnot. But I think there are two things that are crucial. The material that the students are asked to read, and the teacher who teaches. Absolutely. So, I know technology is great. Wasn't there an article recently in the paper that said some teachers are surprised that incoming kindergarten students can manipulate the computer, the iPods and whatnot, but they can't tie their shoes?